In moments when nothing moves, when the world around you feels silent and still, don't mistake it for abandonment. This is the sacred hush before transformation. Silence is not the absence of God. It is the presence of preparation. On Embodying, the divine rearrangement is occurring beneath the surface of your circumstances. You see, the greatest miracles are not born in chaos, but in calm. It is in the stillness of your spirit that the blueprint of the impossible is drawn. The world may call it delay, but heaven calls it design. Every delay is orchestrated. Not 1 second is wasted. Not one moment is forgotten. What you call nothing happening is actually everything happening, but on a level deeper than sight. Do you not realize? Your inner world is the workshop. Imagination is the tool, and assumption is the act of creation. When you imagine from the end, not toward the end, but from it, you align yourself with what already exists in the mind of God. You're not waiting for the miracle to come. You're awakening to the truth that it already is. You must stop measuring God's activity by what your 5 senses can detect. The most significant shifts happen when you feel nothing, when your prayers seem to go unanswered, when your mind tells you to give up, but you won't give up, because the silence is where power hides. Right now, in the silence you dread, the impossible is being prepared with precision. The person you think forgot you is being softened. The door that looks sealed is being unlocked from the other side. The answer you've cried out for is being shaped into form. You don't need signs. You don't need evidence. You only need to dwell in the end. How? By walking as though it is already done. By speaking as though it is already yours. By resting, not striving. For the one who knows that the silence is holy will never again fear the stillness. Instead of panic, there is peace. Instead of rushing, there is rest. Instead of doubt, there is deep knowing. You are not forgotten. You are being formed. You are not abandoned. You are being aligned. Behind the silence, God is preparing the impossible. And soon the impossible will become your reality. But you must remain still long enough to receive it. In the moments when life grows quiet, when prayers seem unanswered and nothing appears to move, most begin to fear they've been forgotten. But what if the silence was not a punishment, not a void, but an invitation, an alignment, a sacred pause in which the unseen hand of God is arranging all things perfectly for your good, for your destiny. We are conditioned to equate movement with progress. If we're not hustling, striving, or forcing things into place, we assume life has stalled. But this is the great illusion. The truth is that the deepest shifts happen in stillness. When nothing seems to be changing outwardly, everything is being orchestrated inwardly. The silence is not empty, it is pregnant with purpose. In this silence, your inner world is being adjusted, your desires are being purified, your assumptions are being tested. It is not that God has gone silent, but that your awareness is being expanded to perceive what lies beneath the noise of everyday life. Divine order does not operate on the surface level. It moves beneath time, beyond the logic of man, outside the calendar and clock. While you wait, align. While you wait, assume. While you wait, dwell in the end. The silence is holy because it strips away distractions. It brings you to a place where you can finally hear the voice of intuition, of faith, of the divine within you. It is the pause before the promise, the hush before heaven makes its move. When you cannot see the way forward, understand this is not a sign to panic, it is a call to trust. To realize that the dream you've imagined is not delayed, it is developing, not being denied, but delivered with care. The very thing you desire is being drawn to you by your alignment, not your effort. The work is not in chasing, but in assuming. Not in pushing, but in preparing. God doesn't need you to make things happen. God needs you to believe they already have. The silence teaches this truth, that your belief, your inner state, your assumption, those are the keys. They are the magnetic forces that call your desire to you. You see, divine alignment isn't about everything looking perfect. It's about everything becoming perfect in its own time. So when the silence surrounds you, resist the urge to fill it with fear. Fill it with faith. Imagine the end. Feel the result. Walk as though it is already yours. Speak not of lack, but of fulfillment. Declare it done. Because in the quiet, you are not being ignored, you are being aligned. The people, the resources, the right moments, all are moving into place. You may not see them yet, but that is the nature of faith, to walk before the way is visible. So rest, breathe, know this truth deep within your soul. The silence is not absence, it is divine alignment, and when the time is right, what you believed in the dark will shine in the light. Imagination is not a childish escape or a fleeting thought. It is the sacred blueprint of all that becomes. Every structure you see, every invention, every breakthrough in history began as an image within. A quiet vision that someone dared to believe long before the world gave it shape. So too is your life. The impossible is not built by logic, but by the boldness to imagine what has not yet appeared. In your quiet moments, when the world is not demanding and your mind is still, what arises in your heart is not random. The images you feel drawn to, the vision of healing, love, abundance, freedom, these are not fantasies. They are seeds. And like all seeds, they require soil, water, and time. But the most fertile soil is your inner world. The most powerful water is your belief. And time bows to imagination when it is sustained with faith. What you dare to imagine in stillness is the beginning of all transformation. It is the inner evidence that something greater seeks expression through you. You do not need to know the how. Imagination is the how. It carves the path by first making you feel the outcome. It pulls you inward so you may dwell in the result before it ever shows up around you. And the moment you feel it real, you've planted the blueprint. This is the divine law of creation. You do not attract what you want, you attract what you assume, what you see clearly in the mind and feel deeply in the soul. The world is a mirror, reflecting not your effort, but your dominant inner image. So when you imagine, you are not simply hoping, you are building. You are selecting from the infinite possibilities already prepared for you. The impossible becomes possible when someone stops reasoning and starts imagining. Reason says that can't happen. Imagination says, what if it already has? Reason waits for evidence. Imagination becomes the evidence. This is the secret hidden in plain sight. You are always imagining. The only question is, what are you imagining? When you begin to imagine deliberately, to live in the end, to feel the experience of what you desire, you begin to rewrite the story your outer world must tell. Circumstances will begin to bend, not because you forced them, but because you believed differently. You imagined differently. Do not underestimate the quiet scenes you play in your mind. They are blueprints. They are instructions to the unseen realm. And if held with conviction, they will shape reality with startling accuracy. That is why in stillness, you must dare. Dare to dream not just what is likely, but what feels impossible. Because the only thing standing between you and that miracle is the consistency of your assumption. Let your imagination rise beyond the facts. Go where your senses cannot take you. Feel the outcome as though it were done. Because it is done. In the invisible, where all things begin. And from that blueprint, the impossible will bloom. Faith is not a reaction to evidence, it is the creator of it. True faith does not wait for proof. It does not look for signs before believing. It is the unseen force that precedes the visible outcome. It is the inner conviction that what you desire already exists, even when your senses declare otherwise. Faith is the ability to stand still in the face of nothingness and still declare, "It is done." The silence that so many dread is not a sign of absence. It is the fertile soil where faith begins to take root. In that quiet space where no doors are opening, no messages are returned, no movement seems to be happening, this is where your belief is tested and strengthened. Can you still hold the vision? Can you still say yes to the promise, even when the world says no? This is not blind optimism. This is spiritual maturity. It is knowing that reality bends to faith, not the other way around. That your outer world is merely a delayed reflection of your inner assumption. And so you do not waver. You do not shrink. You stand and you believe, not because of what you see, but because of what you know. The truth is, faith doesn't need noise. It doesn't need validation. It needs only your decision. A firm, quiet decision to live from the end, not toward it, but from it. You feel the wish fulfilled. You speak the language of already mine. You begin to move in alignment with what you believe, not because the evidence is here, but because the inner knowing is stronger than the absence of proof. This is why the silence is sacred. Because it gives you space to build without interference. It strips away distractions and demands a choice. Will you give your power to what is or to what can be? Will you let current conditions control you, or will you rise above them and declare the unseen as real? Faith is the invisible architecture of your destiny. It constructs the outcome before the form is ever visible. The world will call it delusion, but you will know it as creation. The world will ask, "Where is it?" But faith says, "It is already mine." And in time, the world will have no choice but to catch up to what you knew all along. So do not fear the silence. Do not resent the space where nothing seems to happen. That is where everything is beginning. That is where the invisible hands of God are at work. That is where you build the foundation of a life that does not depend on circumstances, but on conviction. Because once faith has done its work in the silence, nothing can stop the impossible from becoming inevitable. It was never about what you could see. It was always about what you dared to believe before the evidence appeared. You are not here to figure everything out. You are not here to manipulate the outcome or force things into place with sheer effort. You are the vessel, the channel through which divine power flows. God is the architect, the master designer whose vision for your life surpasses anything your limited logic could ever conceive. Behind your waiting, something holy is taking shape. There is a greater intelligence at work, arranging details, opening unseen doors, softening hearts, shifting circumstances, and aligning timelines you cannot perceive. The silence that tests your patience is not empty. It is a sacred construction zone where the impossible is being built quietly and perfectly. You may feel like nothing is happening, but what if everything is happening, just not on the level you can see? You are not forgotten, you are not being punished, you are being positioned, prepared, carried. There is wisdom in the wait. For in that stillness you are asked to release control, not because you've given up, but because you've surrendered to something greater. The vessel does not need to understand the blueprint. It only needs to be open, available, ready to receive. Your job is not to design the plan, but to hold the faith, to hold the image, to trust that what you cannot comprehend, God is already perfecting. This is where true transformation begins, not in the noise, not in the hustle, but in the quiet agreement between your soul and the architect. You say, I don't see it, but I trust you. And in that moment, you become a co-creator, not by force, but by alignment. Your reasoning is limited to what has been. God operates in what can be. Your logic is shaped by past experience. God's vision is rooted in eternal possibilities. What you call impossible is simply unfamiliar to your mind, not to the Creator who made it all. So stop trying to solve what was never yours to solve. Instead, yield. Open your hands, open your heart, and say, use me, shape me, prepare me to receive what I dared to ask for. There are blessings so vast, so precise, so extraordinary they cannot be rushed. They must be timed with divine perfection, and if you were to receive them before you were ready, they would not feel like blessings at all. So while you wait, wait with intention. While you wait, fortify your inner world. While you wait, know this: behind the delay is design. You are the vessel, God is the architect, and no vessel ever worries about the blueprint. It simply waits to be filled. So trust the silence, trust the stillness, trust the process. You are not meant to carry the weight of the outcome, only the clarity of the vision. And when the time is right, when the unseen has finished its sacred work, the design will manifest, not by your doing, but through your surrender. And you will see that what was being built all along was not just the blessing, but also the version of you ready to receive it. Delay is one of the greatest tests of faith, and yet it holds some of the most powerful wisdom. We often see delay as rejection, as if the universe has turned its face from us or our prayers have gone unheard. But the truth is far more beautiful and far more precise. Delay is a divine strategy. It is not denial, it is design, it is preparation, it is protection. It is a refining space between who you are and who you must become to hold what you've asked for. You may not see it yet, but the impossible is being perfected in the invisible realm. The details you cannot imagine, the timing you cannot orchestrate, the people you don't yet know, all of it is being woven together with intention and grace. And while it may feel like your dream is paused, the delay is not a stillness, it is a sacred movement, just hidden from view. There are blessings so significant they require you to grow into them. If they came too soon, you might mishandle them, misunderstand them, or even reject them out of fear. And so in love, the divine delays, not to punish you, but to position you, to stretch your faith, to build your character, to deepen your trust, to prepare the vessel for the weight of the miracle. What you're waiting for is not just being made, it's being made perfect. And while it is being shaped, so are you. The wait is not idle, it is active. Every moment you spend believing in the unseen, every day you choose to walk in trust rather than worry, you are stepping into alignment with what's coming. You are not waiting alone. The Creator of all things is not idle. God is not bound by time nor impressed by speed. Divine timing is not rushed because it is flawless. It does not bend to your emotions, but to your readiness. It waits not for the right day, but for the right you. So when nothing moves, when doors remain shut, when silence seems unending, remember this: the delay is not meant to break you. It's meant to build you, to refine your desires, to test the purity of your intentions, to strengthen your capacity to sustain what is coming. Rest in the knowing that the delay is divine. Don't let the illusion of stagnation shake your faith. Your blessing is not lost. It's being matured. And when the time is right, it will arrive, not just as an answer, but as a confirmation that every silent season, every unseen moment, was part of something holy. The impossible is not denied. It is being perfected. You are not forgotten. You are being prepared. So breathe, trust, surrender. And remember, delay is not your enemy. It is your greatest ally, making sure that when your miracle arrives, you will be ready to hold it, honor it, and walk in the fullness of it. Manifestation does not begin with action. It begins with assumption. The world around you is not the cause, it is the effect. Everything you see, every condition you experience, is a reflection of what you have assumed to be true. And assumption is not a passive wish. It is a conscious decision to embody a reality that has not yet appeared. It is the silent, unwavering agreement with the end you desire, even when every outer fact seems to deny it. What you can assume, you can manifest, because assumption is creation. It is the starting point of the invisible process that draws the unseen into the seen. When you assume something, you accept it not as a hope, not as a maybe, but as a finished fact. And in doing so, you set into motion a spiritual law far more powerful than effort or struggle. In silence, this power becomes available, not in noise, not in distraction, but in stillness, when your mind is quiet enough to receive the vision clearly. That is where you assume the end, not think about it, not wish for it, but enter it, feel it, dwell in it, live from it. The moment you make the inner shift to identify with the version of you who already has what you desire, the external world must follow. You are not waiting for evidence to give you permission to believe. You are using belief to create the evidence. This is the reversal of how the world trains you to think. You've been told to wait and see, to trust what can be proven. But manifestation operates in reverse. You must first believe, and then you will see. The impossible becomes inevitable when you stop negotiating with your senses and start aligning with your inner conviction. You no longer ask when or how, you simply know. And that knowing is your assumption. You do not wait for the door to open. You walk as though it already has. You do not wait for love to appear. You feel loved now. You do not beg for abundance. You assume wealth here and now. And this assumption isn't a trick or a game. It's not pretending. It's embodying. It's stepping into the vibration of what you desire so fully that life has no choice but to mirror it back to you. Circumstances will shift, people will change, paths will unfold, not because you forced them, but because you assumed the outcome and reality bowed to your inner world. In this way, your imagination becomes the womb of creation. What you accept as true in imagination hardens into fact. That's why it is not enough to simply visualize. You must assume. You must move beyond hope and into identity. You are not becoming, you are remembering. Not waiting, but waking up to what has already been prepared for you. So go into the silence. Close the door on doubt and assume the end as real, as done, as yours. For what you can assume, you can and will manifest always. In the stillness, in the silence, and in the seeming delay, something extraordinary is always unfolding. The silence is not a sign of absence. It is the sacred space where divine alignment takes place, What you imagine in faith becomes the blueprint of your future. And though the evidence may not yet appear, it is your unwavering assumption, your decision to live from the end, that calls the impossible into being. You are not the architect, you are the vessel. Trust the process, trust the timing, and trust the invisible hands shaping the life you've dared to believe in. Because behind the silence, God is preparing what only faith can receive. Sincere thanks. Thank you for allowing this message to reach your heart. May you walk forward in peace, with the quiet confidence that what you seek is already on its way. Keep imagining, keep assuming, and never stop believing in the unseen. Close your eyes. Step out of the noise and into the stillness of your own being. For here, in the quiet space between your thoughts, lies the power that governs worlds, the silent architect of all creation. This power is not somewhere out there, it is within you, it is you. And the world around you? It moves and bends in obedience to it. Real results do not come from struggle, they come from alignment. Alignment with your imagination, alignment with your inner state. To manifest is not to beg. To manifest is to know. You are not here to chase life, you are here to direct it. And you direct it not with force, but with feeling. Your outer world is only a mirror. It shows you what you habitually think, feel, and believe to be true, whether you like it or not. But here's the key. You can change the reflection. You can shift the scene by shifting your inner script. You can rewrite reality by assuming a new identity inwardly. The man or woman who assumes the end, lives in the end, and feels the end will see it reflected without delay. This is manifestation in motion, not by effort, but by consciousness in action. You must begin to feel now what you once thought would only come someday. You must become the one who already has it, already is it, already lives it, because in the realm of the unseen there is no time. Everything is now, and that version of you already exists. So walk in that version, dwell in that identity, think from it, speak from it, sleep in it. Do not check the mirror, check your mind. Do not wait for the change, be the change internally, and the world will rush to reflect it. This is not about wishing. This is not about trying harder. This is about assuming with authority, knowing with finality, feeling with certainty. Your reality is not built by effort, it is shaped by belief. And belief is simply a sustained assumption. Hold it. Feel it. Trust it. Your results are not waiting, they are responding. Because when your imagination moves with conviction, reality follows. This is real power. This is manifestation in motion. And yes, these are real results. Live from the end, and the world will catch up. Your outer world, everything you see, touch, and experience, is not separate from you. It is not an independent force acting upon you. It is your reflection, your echo, the mirror of your inner beliefs and assumptions. This understanding is the beginning of true transformation. Most people believe that circumstances shape consciousness, that events happen and then they respond, but the truth is the reverse. What you hold within you as true, what you consistently feel and assume, becomes the stage upon which your life unfolds. Consciousness is the only reality. Everything else is its expression. There is no power outside of you shaping your destiny. It is not fate, nor luck, nor chance that decides your path. It is the deep, often unnoticed beliefs and assumptions you carry every moment. What you accept as true, especially what you accept about yourself, silently instructs the world on how to behave toward you. If you assume lack, you will walk through a world that constantly shows you lack. If you assume abundance, the world must reflect abundance back. It is law. The outer always conforms to the inner. Not immediately, perhaps, but inevitably. You do not manifest what you want, you manifest what you are. This is why merely wishing for something brings no results. Wanting without inner assumption only creates more wanting. But the moment you assume something to be true, even in the absence of physical proof, you begin to rearrange reality. Not by force, but by the quiet command of consciousness. You begin to carry a new signal, a new frequency, and the world, without your effort, starts to respond to that signal. People change, opportunities arise, circumstances shift. Why? Because you shifted within. To change your life, you must go inward, not outward. No amount of chasing, fixing, hustling, or external effort will bring lasting change until you alter the state from which you operate. The state you live in mentally and emotionally is what produces your life experience. You can only experience what you are conscious of being. If you are conscious of being, love must manifest. If you are conscious of being successful, even while appearing to fail, success must take form. Consciousness is creative. It is causative. It is the only power. This is not fantasy. It is not pretending. It is living from the truth that everything begins in imagination and takes form through assumption. If you imagine vividly and assume persistently that you are already the person you desire to be, your world will bend to match that inner reality. You must accept it within before it can appear without. Your job is not to make it happen, but to believe it has already happened inside. The rest unfolds naturally, drawn to you by the law that consciousness externalizes itself. Stop trying to fix the mirror. Change the face you are showing it. Reality is the mirror. It does not argue, it does not judge, it simply reflects. If you do not like what you see, change what you are being. Shift the inner narrative. Assume something higher, something nobler. Walk as though it were already so. Think from the end, not toward it. And as you persist in that state, what was once only an invisible assumption will become visible truth. There is no outer world without the inner one. There is no condition that exists independently of your acceptance of it. Change the assumptions and you change the experience. This is the secret behind every transformation. This is the foundation of manifestation. You are not a victim of life, you are its cause. The power is not in the world. The power is in you, because consciousness is the only reality. Imagination is not a fleeting daydream or a passive pastime. It is the creative force of life itself. Everything that has ever been made, everything you see around you, was first imagined. It began not in the physical, but in the unseen, in the mind, in the silent depths of consciousness. The house you live in, the clothes you wear, the device you're using, all of it was born from imagination. Someone first saw it within, believed in its possibility, and then watched it unfold into form. That same power lives in you. It is not reserved for the few. It is the birthright of every human being. Your imagination is the engine of creation. What you vividly imagine and emotionally accept as true becomes your reality. This is not mere theory. It is a principle that governs your entire life. The world you inhabit today is a reflection of the images you have held within, whether you were aware of it or not. What you think repeatedly, what you feel deeply, and what you accept inwardly as real inevitably takes shape in your external world. It is not enough to wish for something or casually think about it. You must feel it in your imagination as though it were already true. You must enter that state of being and dwell in it. Imagination is not fantasy. Fantasy is fleeting and passive, while true imagination is deliberate and intentional. It is the act of assuming a new state, a new identity, and embodying it within, long before the senses give any confirmation. When you imagine yourself healthy, prosperous, loved, or successful, and you remain faithful to that inner vision, you begin to impress that state upon the subconscious. And the subconscious, being without resistance or judgment, accepts that impression and sets events into motion to bring it about. Most people live reactively. They look at what is, and they reinforce it by imagining more of the same. But if you wish to change your life, you must learn to imagine beyond your present circumstances. You must rise above appearances and live mentally in the end result you desire. Do not wait for evidence. Create it within. The imagination is the place where all things begin. It is the workshop of reality. What you build there will find its way to you, not by effort but by law. Your imagination is divine. It is not make-believe, it is make-real. When you use it with intention and belief, it becomes the tool by which the invisible becomes visible. Every scene you create in your mind, every conversation you rehearse, every outcome you embody, these are seeds planted in the soil of the unseen. And just like nature, those seeds will grow according to their kind. A vision of joy produces joy. A vision of fear produces fear. The power is neutral. It brings forth what you persistently imagine and feel. So the question is not whether you are imagining, but what you are imagining. Are you allowing your mind to dwell in worry, doubt, or limitation? Or are you choosing consciously to occupy the states you desire to see reflected? Because whether you do it knowingly or not, your imagination is always at work. You are always creating. Every moment is an act of imagination. To change your life, you must take control of this process. Begin to imagine with clarity and feeling. See yourself already having what you desire. Hear the voices congratulating you. Feel the emotions of fulfillment. Do not just think about it, live in it, assume it, breathe it, and walk in it inwardly. As you do, you set the wheels in motion. You activate a deeper law, and reality begins to shape itself around your new vision. You are not powerless. You are not at the mercy of fate or circumstance. You are the imaginer of your world, the dreamer of your life, and through imagination, focused and felt, you bring all things into being. So use it wisely. Use it with faith, and never forget, what you vividly imagine and feel as true will harden into fact. Everything you desire already exists, not out in the distant future, not in some far-off realm, but in the invisible field of possibility. The key to bringing it into form is not effort, not struggle, but feeling. The moment you begin to feel the reality of your wish as already fulfilled, you shift your identity, and with it your world must shift to match. The universe does not respond to what you hope for. It responds to what you are. And you become it, not by waiting for proof, but by embodying the feeling now. Most people live in a constant state of waiting for success to feel accomplished, waiting for love to feel worthy, waiting for wealth to feel secure. But this is backwards. Life mirrors your state of being, not your outer effort. The secret is to feel it now, to live from the end emotionally and mentally, as though your desire is already real. Because when you feel the state inwardly, you broadcast that frequency and the world begins to respond accordingly. Feeling is the secret language of creation. It speaks to the subconscious mind in a way that logic and words cannot. The subconscious doesn't respond to what you say. It responds to what you feel. If you repeatedly feel lack, it produces more lack. If you consistently feel abundance, even in the face of empty hands, it must reflect abundance. This is not delusion, it is divine order. Your feelings are not reactions to the world, they are instructions to it. When you feel the wish fulfilled, something remarkable happens. You are no longer chasing your desire, you are dwelling in it. You walk differently, you speak differently, your decisions shift because you are no longer acting from the old version of yourself, you are being the new version now. And from that state of being, aligned with your imagined reality, circumstances begin to organize themselves to confirm it. You may not see the evidence immediately, but you don't need to. You don't plant a seed and demand that it bloom overnight. You trust the process because you know what you've planted. The same is true of your inner world. Once you have felt the reality of your desire and remained loyal to that feeling, you have done the work. The rest will unfold in its perfect time. This is why effort alone is not enough. You can take massive action and still produce nothing if your inner state contradicts it. You can say all the right words, do all the right things, and yet see no progress if your heart still dwells in fear or doubt. But when you feel the end, when you know it's done inside, you carry a power that no obstacle can resist. Think of how you would feel if it were already yours. Not someday, not maybe, now. Would you be relieved, confident, joyful, calm? Take that feeling and wear it like a second skin. Let it become your atmosphere. Let it guide your choices. Let it quiet your fears. When you consistently return to that feeling, you are not trying to manifest anymore. You are the manifestation. This is not pretending. This is embodying. Pretending is hollow. Embodying is transformative. Pretending says, maybe one day. Embodying says, it is already mine. And when you live from the place of it already being yours, you collapse time. You become magnetized. You move through the world as the version of yourself who no longer needs to seek, only to receive. Do not wait for results to feel fulfilled. Feel fulfilled and the results will come. This is the path of the inner creator. Feel it now before you see it, and you will inevitably see it. The feeling creates the fact. The inner state shapes the outer scene. When you master the art of feeling now, you unlock the key to manifestation, and life becomes your mirror. In a world that glorifies constant movement, non-stop action, and relentless hustle, it may seem counterintuitive to believe that true power begins in stillness. Yet the deeper truth is this: all meaningful motion in your life, every breakthrough, every manifestation, every shift emerges from an inner stillness. It is not from frantic doing that your life transforms, but from quiet being. The unseen roots of your outer experience are not found in your efforts, but in your states of consciousness. What you see moving in your world today was first formed in a moment of inward silence. Stillness is not inactivity, it is creation at its highest level. It is not the absence of life, but the source of it. In stillness, the mind settles, the noise fades, and the true self emerges. This stillness is sacred. It is the womb of manifestation, the space where your desires are conceived, nurtured, and brought into life. When you sit in silence, not just physically but mentally, you enter the creative realm where all things begin. The outer world may appear still unchanged, but inwardly you have already moved mountains. Living inwardly in the state you desire is not a passive act. It is intentional. It requires awareness, focus, and surrender. You must step away from appearances and move into the dimension of imagination, where your desire already exists. You do not seek it, you become it. In the stillness of your mind, you begin to feel the truth of this new reality. You hear the sounds of that future. You see the detail. You feel the emotions as if it were already complete. And in doing so, you activate the unseen forces that shape what the world will soon call your life. You do not need to chase what is already yours. You only need to claim it within. Stillness is the doorway to that claiming. The more you try to make something happen from a state of desperation or worry, the more resistance you create. But when you go within, when you detach from the noise of what is and rest in the knowing of what is becoming, you align yourself with creation's natural flow. From this still place, clarity arises. Ideas flow, guidance is received. The next step appears, not as a forced action, but as a natural unfolding. You begin to act not out of fear or urgency, but from inspiration and inner conviction. This is the difference between chaotic motion and divine motion. One is noise, the other is purpose. One is forced, the other is flowed. And the latter always begins in stillness. Every great work, every fulfilled dream, every manifested desire, without exception, was born first in the quiet of the mind. Those who learn to withdraw their attention from appearances, who learn to silence the doubt, the worry, the outer distractions, and instead turn their gaze inward, will find that life begins to move for them in miraculous ways. It is not about effort, but about alignment. And alignment is found when you return to the center, your still point of creation. Still your mind. Enter the silence. Let go of the need to force, to chase, to fix. Instead, live inwardly in the scene you desire. Feel it real. Hear it, see it, become it. Dwell in that state not for a moment, but as your new dwelling place. And as you persist in this stillness, something incredible happens. The world begins to shift. People show up. Doors open. Circumstances align. And what appeared to be motionless is now moving. Because you have moved within. All motion begins in stillness. All change begins in consciousness. And the most powerful movements in your life will come not from doing more, but from being more. More calm, more sure, more aligned with your inner truth. Rest there. Trust there. Create from there, for the silence within you holds the script to the life you've been waiting to see. Faith is not wishful thinking. It is not hope dressed in polite language. Faith is psychological certainty. It is the inner knowing that what you desire is already yours long before the world has given you a single sign. It is standing firm in your assumption, unwavering and undisturbed by appearances. Faith is not something you have when things look promising. It is what you hold when nothing on the outside seems to agree with what you believe inside. True faith begins where logic ends. When you manifest from faith, you are not asking whether it will happen. You are living as though it already has. You do not try to convince yourself. You simply know. That knowing becomes your foundation. That inner conviction becomes your guide. And because the world is nothing more than a reflection of your inner state, it must bend and respond to your assumption with absolute precision. Faith is the invisible force that moves the visible world. To assume the end with assurance is not fantasy, it is creation. It is the act of stepping into the feeling of the wish fulfilled and remaining there mentally and emotionally, even when nothing around you seems to support it. You assume the role, you think from the result, not toward it. This shift in perspective, from desiring to already having, activates the unseen laws of manifestation. And those laws never fail. What you assume with faith, you materialize in time. Most people operate in hope. They wish for change. They look for signs. They check constantly to see if it's working. But true faith does not look for proof. It is the proof. It is the evidence of things not seen. When you have faith, you don't need to manipulate reality. You don't need to force results. You rest in the knowing that it is done, and that knowing begins to mold your world silently, effortlessly, powerfully. You must understand that this level of faith is not passive. It is not about doing nothing. It is about doing the one thing that truly matters, believing. With faith, you move differently. You speak with authority. You carry yourself as the one who already possesses what they once longed for. This inner shift causes a ripple in your environment. Your belief becomes magnetic. It draws people, situations, and resources that align with your assumption. Faith does not waver. It does not beg. It does not plead. It declares. It decides. It chooses. And once it is chosen, it does not look back. It persists in the face of delay. It smiles at contradiction. It holds firm in the silence, knowing that the world must eventually reflect its certainty. Because once you assume something with complete belief, the blueprint is already formed, reality only needs time to catch up. This kind of faith is not noisy, it is not loud or showy. It is quiet, calm, and steady. It walks through storms without flinching. It stands in the dark and still claims the light. Faith is the language of creation, and once you speak it fluently, the universe listens. The world becomes responsive to your internal command. Your faith is the seed, and life becomes the soil that brings it to life. To cultivate this certainty, you must turn inward, withdraw from appearances. Stop waiting for signs. You are the sign. Your feeling, your knowing, your assumption, these are the only confirmations you ever need. Stay loyal to your inner vision. Nourish it with gratitude and belief. Live as though the outcome is already here, and you will find, often to your own surprise, that life rushes to meet you where you stand. You do not hope for what you manifest, you know it. And that knowing, that unshakable belief in the unseen, is what turns imagination into reality. Faith is not asking, faith is receiving. And once you receive within, the world must deliver without. To live from the end is to step into the power of your imagination with full conviction. It means you no longer look at your desires as something in the distance, something you're hoping to reach someday. Instead, you claim them within, now, before a single piece of evidence appears. You begin to think as the version of yourself who already has what you once wished for. You speak from it, you act from it, you feel from it. And this shift in consciousness becomes the silent architect of your outer world. Living toward the end implies separation. It keeps your desire always just out of reach, as something that might happen if the conditions align. But living from the end removes all conditions. It accepts the fulfillment as present, real, and already accomplished. In that state, you no longer ask if it will happen, you simply walk in the knowing that it is done. And the world, governed by the mirror-like nature of consciousness, must begin to reflect what you are embodying. When you dwell in having, you enter a creative frequency. You're no longer vibrating with longing or lack, you're vibrating with fulfillment. And since reality is shaped by your dominant internal state, that feeling of I already have it begins to pull people, opportunities, and events toward you with almost effortless precision. This is not magic, it is law. The law that what you are conscious of being becomes what you experience in form. The greatest illusion is time. Your mind tells you one day it will be mine. But this keeps the desire forever out there, forever separate. Time is not your master, time is your servant. And when you stop thinking from the past or waiting for the future and instead plant yourself in the present, feeling of your fulfilled desire, you collapse time. What once seemed far off now rushes to meet you. You are not meant to live in the energy of trying. Trying implies failure. Hoping implies doubt. But living from the end is pure confidence. It is psychological certainty. It is the deep, quiet knowing that says, this is who I am, this is what I have, this is where I dwell. And from that dwelling place, you will notice a shift, not just in the world, but in yourself. You make decisions differently. You walk with assurance. You are no longer looking for signs. You are living as the sign. This isn't about faking it or forcing it. It's about aligning your inner world with the truth you want to experience. If you want love, live as the one who is already loved deeply. If you want wealth, think and feel as the one who already has more than enough. If you want peace, speak and move as someone who dwells in calm, no matter the noise around them. The external will adjust to match the internal. Most people delay their joy waiting for something outside to give them permission to feel whole. But when you live from the end, you give yourself that permission now. You stop postponing happiness, you stop chasing, striving, proving. You become. And once you become it within, it becomes impossible for the world not to reflect it without. This is the great secret. Nothing changes outside until you change inside. The world is a mirror, and it does not show you what you want. It shows you what you are. So be it now. Be the one who already has it. Be the version of yourself you dream of becoming. Dwell in that state day after day and watch as reality molds itself to your assumption. You must stop living toward the end and start living from it. The shift is subtle, but it is everything. From the moment you assume the end is yours and feel the truth of it without needing to see it first, your world begins to rearrange, not because you forced it, but because you became it. Real results do not come from waiting, wishing, or striving. They come from within. You hold the key to your reality, and it lies not in effort, but in assumption, imagination, and feeling. Your world mirrors your inner state. When you become still, imagine vividly, feel the wish fulfilled, and live from the end, your desires move from the unseen into the seen with certainty. This is not theory, it is law. Motion begins in stillness. Power flows from faith. Creation starts with consciousness. And when you fully accept that what you desire is already yours, life has no choice but to conform. Manifestation is not something you chase. It is who you are in motion. Thank you for opening your heart and mind to these timeless truths. Your journey to transformation has already begun, because the moment you imagine differently, you begin to live differently. Stay faithful to your vision. Feel it now. Live from the end. And remember, real power lives in you. You are standing at the threshold of change, not a small ripple, but a wave so profound it will make the old you unrecognizable. The moment you accepted the possibility of more, the moment you felt the desire rising from the depths of your being, a shift began. But here is the secret few understand. Life does not shift from the outside in. The turning of events begins in the silence of your soul. When you assume a new reality, regardless of present appearances, the universe bows in obedience. The outer world cannot resist the dominion of one who imagines with conviction. Your circumstances are simply mirrors. They must reflect the image you hold most deeply. Right now, something is already moving. Doors that were once sealed are beginning to loosen. People, opportunities, and ideas are being magnetized to you because you have changed your state. Even if nothing seems different yet, trust what is forming behind the veil. A new version of you is already living the life you long for. And every day you are aligning closer to that version. You may feel discomfort. Old things may fall away. You may feel confusion, chaos, even loss. But do not be deceived. That is not destruction, that is alignment. Life is not punishing you. It is reordering itself to match what you've already claimed within. To the one who lives from the end, time collapses. What once took years now arrives in weeks. What once felt impossible becomes natural, because time is not your master, your state of being is. Let go of the timeline, let go of how it happens. Instead, rest in the feeling that it already has. Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Let your imagination paint the scene and dwell in it nightly. Rehearse your new reality as if it were already so, because it is. Your mind does not differentiate between what is real and what is vividly imagined. So create boldly, feel deeply, and return to the end again and again. Prepare your mind, not for striving but for receiving. Prepare your heart, not for hoping but for knowing. Your life is about to shift in a major way because your consciousness has already moved. The world has no choice but to follow. So get ready, not with fear or doubt, but with certainty. The change is not coming. It has already begun. Nothing in your outer world shifts without a cause within. What you see with your eyes, hear with your ears, and experience with your senses is not the origin of reality. It is the echo. The root lies deep within your consciousness, in that quiet realm where you feel, assume, and accept things to be true, even before they appear in form. You may believe that events happen to you, that people act of their own accord, that circumstances arise without reason. But when you begin to observe with deeper awareness, you see that life responds faithfully and consistently to the state you live in inwardly. Not what you think occasionally, not what you wish for in desperation, but what you know yourself to be, what you feel to be yours, and what you assume even when evidence is absent. This is why a major shift in your life begins not with action, but with assumption. To shift your world, you must shift your inner self, your mood, your belief, your expectation. Reality is not objective in the way you've been taught. It bends to the dominant tone of your imagination. It conforms to your self-concept, whether high or low. If you see yourself as limited, unwanted, unworthy, the world will wear the mask that confirms that perception. If you change your self-picture to one of worth, love, power, and wholeness, the world must, by divine law, mirror that back to you. This is not fantasy, it is law. The law of consciousness dictates that you cannot experience what is not first alive in you. You must become the thing you seek. If you desire abundance but remain in a state of lack and longing, your outer world can only reflect that longing, not the fulfillment. But if you embody abundance in feeling, if you walk in the knowing that you are already supplied, then the outer must give form to that inner knowing. Every major transformation you've ever witnessed in someone's life began with an invisible change, a shift in mindset, a radical redefinition of the self. They may have looked the same to others for a while, but inside something was different. The thoughts they entertained changed. The way they spoke to themselves changed. The pictures they held in their mind's eye changed. And slowly, then suddenly, their world changed to match. You cannot pretend your way into this. You must feel the truth of it. The shift must be genuine, not forced. Your imagination is not a tool for manipulation. It is the sacred workshop where your future is built. You are the artist. What you paint within will be printed out in time. So if you've been wondering why certain patterns repeat, why breakthroughs feel distant, or why you keep returning to the same emotional landscape, look within. Not with guilt, not with blame, but with clarity. Are you still carrying the weight of old assumptions? Are you secretly expecting the same results, even though you say you want change? The world cannot violate your inner blueprint. It builds exactly as you've instructed, whether consciously or unconsciously. Now comes the moment of power. You do not need to wait for a sign to begin this shift. The very desire to change is a sign that your inner world is ready. Let that desire birth a new feeling, a new story, a new identity. Step into the reality you long for, not with force but with faith. Saturate your imagination with the end result. Speak from it, think from it, feel from it. Let the unseen world of assumption become more real to you than the facts that surround you. Because once it is real within, the world has no choice. It must follow. It must obey the blueprint you have drawn in spirit. The outer world reflects the inner state, and your inner state is the seed of everything you will ever experience. A true shift never begins on the outside. It does not start with a new job, a new relationship, a new opportunity, or even a change in location. It begins deep within consciousness, often quiet, unseen, uncelebrated, and yet it is this invisible shift that sets everything else in motion. You may not even notice the moment it happens, but something changes, the way you speak about yourself, the tone of your inner voice, the energy with which you move through the day. These subtle movements of the soul are what transform the landscape of your life. You do not have to wait for permission to become someone new. You do not need validation from the world before you decide who you are. The moment you claim it inwardly, truly claim it, the world begins to bend in your direction. It may not be immediate. It may not come through the door you expected. But once a state is assumed and lived in consistently, reality must conform. This is because you have already moved. You've shifted your identity, not by begging for change, but by stepping into it internally. You are no longer asking for what you want. You are being it. That change in being is the cause. The circumstances that will appear are only the effect. The world is always responding to who you are being, not what you are doing. You can work tirelessly and chase endlessly, but if your internal state remains the same, you will find yourself in cycles. Effort alone is not the key. Effort within, alignment, belief, assumption is what causes the outer to obey. So when you assume the reality of your desire and persist in that knowing without needing proof, you are planting seeds in consciousness that must break the surface. The moment you feel differently, the moment you walk through life as if it is already done, your world begins to organize itself. Conversations begin to shift. People show up in new ways. Random moments become orchestrated events. But these are not accidents. They are reflections of your internal movement. Do not be fooled by the silence of the in-between. Just because your senses cannot yet see the change doesn't mean it hasn't been set into motion. When a new assumption is planted, life enters a period of reordering. Some old structures must fall. Some ties must dissolve. Some paths must close in order to redirect you. Trust this part. It's not chaos, it's correction. Let this truth settle in you. You have already moved. You no longer live in the reality you used to. You may wake up in the same room, but something has changed within you. The way you feel about your worth, your destiny, your power. It's different now. You don't wish for things to be better. You know they already are. And that knowing becomes the invisible bridge between what was and what will be. This is not about pretending. It is about embodying. You do not fake the new reality. You feel it so deeply that it becomes your home. You speak from it. You make decisions from it. You react to the world as if it has already arrived. And when you do this consistently, the world has no choice but to reflect your new position. Every shift in your life begins with a single sacred decision. This is who I am now. When that decision is felt, not just said, you become magnetic. Reality begins to chase you instead of the other way around. Things begin to move in your favor because you have moved first. So hold the line. Don't go back to the old story just because the outer hasn't caught up yet. It's catching up now. It's on its way. Stay firm in the state you have claimed. Live from the end, not in desperation, not in hope, but in quiet confidence. Because the moment you assumed it, you moved. Now just watch reality follow. Every transformation you will ever experience begins first in the unseen world of your imagination. Before it becomes form, before it appears as fact, it begins as a thought, a vision, a feeling. You may believe that life happens by chance or that change comes only through effort. But the deeper truth is this: what you hold in imagination becomes the life you live. It is the blueprint, the silent architect of your future. Imagination is not a child's game or a fleeting daydream. It is sacred. It is power. It is creation in its purest form. Within your mind, you are free to create anything, and when you do so with clarity and emotion, you send a command to the world around you. You are declaring, "This is the world I choose," and life listens. There is nothing in your life right now that did not first exist in the realm of thought. The people around you, the circumstances you find yourself in, the opportunities or obstacles, they are all reflections of the stories you have accepted and repeated, consciously or not. What you consistently imagine becomes what you consistently attract. Your imagination does not care if what you see is labeled real or fantasy. It simply responds to what you focus on. So when you begin to rehearse a new scene in your mind, when you feel yourself living the life you desire, when you walk in that home, shake those hands, hear the applause, or receive that call, you are laying the foundation for what will come. And the more real it becomes within, the sooner it will become real without. This is why idle thoughts are not so idle. They are seeds, and every seed bears fruit in its season. If you dwell in fear, lack, or defeat, your imagination becomes a workshop for failure. But if you fill it with success, joy, abundance, and love, you are building a future that must reflect those qualities. It is not fantasy, it is divine law. You are always imagining something. The question is, are you doing it consciously, or are you letting old fears, memories, and limitations direct the blueprint? You cannot build a new life with the old tools of doubt. You must become deliberate with what you picture. Start to use imagination not as escape, but as design. If you desire change, stop talking about the problem. Stop rehearsing what went wrong. Stop imagining what you fear. Instead, close your eyes and build a new scene. Step into the version of you who already has what you desire. Feel how that person thinks, walks, loves, speaks, and rests. Live from that place in your mind. Let it become more familiar to you than your current circumstances, and then carry that scene with you. Revisit it often, not with desperation, but with peace. Do not worry about how it will come. That is not your role. Your job is to create the scene and dwell in it until it becomes natural. The universe will handle the bridge of events. It always does. You are not waiting on the world. The world is waiting on your clarity. The clearer your inner vision, the more stable your outer life becomes, because imagination shapes reality. It always has, and it always will. So what are you imagining today? What world are you building in secret? If you knew that your future would reflect whatever you held in mind, would you not be more careful, more intentional, more devoted to your inner world? Begin now. Use the gift. Paint your life with bold strokes of faith. Let your imagination rise higher than your current conditions, because whatever you consistently see within, you will eventually walk into. Imagination is not a fantasy. It is the blueprint, and your future is being built right now. Disruption often arrives unannounced. It tears through the routines you've built, shakes the relationships you've relied on, and dissolves the stability you thought would last forever. But what feels like chaos is often divine clarity in disguise. What appears to be loss is the hand of life making space for the greater reality you've already claimed within. It is not punishment. It is preparation. When you shift internally, when you assume a new state, the outer world begins to reorganize itself. But it doesn't always do so in gentle, predictable ways. Sometimes it removes, sometimes it breaks, sometimes it forces your hand and pulls you out of places and patterns you would have never left on your own. This is not to hurt you. It is to align you. The assumption you hold, the version of yourself you've stepped into, cannot exist in the same conditions as your old self. There are relationships, beliefs, jobs, and habits that simply cannot survive in your new atmosphere. And so they fall away, not because you're doing something wrong, but because you're finally doing something right. You've moved, you've evolved, you've elevated, and now everything that does not match your new frequency must go. This part of the journey can feel cruel, it can feel lonely. You might ask, why is this happening to me? But the better question is, what is this creating space for? Every disruption is an answer to a request you made, consciously or unconsciously. You asked for more, you imagined better, you claimed a future that was richer, freer, more in alignment with your soul, and now life is honoring that. The disruption is not in the way, it is the way. It is the bridge between who you were and who you're becoming. It may come with endings, friendships dissolving, jobs shifting, locations changing. But these endings are not final. They are transitions. They are sacred rearrangements to bring you into closer union with the version of reality you've chosen to live in. When you truly understand this, you stop resisting the fall. You stop clinging to what's leaving. You start to trust that what's being removed is making room for something better, something that aligns with who you are now. Let go of the illusion that you must hold everything together. Let life fall apart if it must, because often the breakdown is the breakthrough in disguise. You are not being rejected, you are being redirected. The closing of a door does not mean you failed, it means it no longer leads to where you're going. Trust that. Trust the closing. Trust the silence that comes after it. In that space, the new takes form. You may not understand it now. It may not make logical sense. But the greater plan is unfolding beneath the surface. The pain, the confusion, the endings, they are clearing the debris of the old you so that the life you've imagined can rise on clean ground. Do not rush to fill the emptiness. Let it breathe. Let it stretch. Let it prepare you, because you are not being undone. You are being rebuilt. Life is not against you. It is answering you. You assume the new. You imagine the more. And now everything that is not in harmony with that must dissolve. So embrace the disruption. Don't fight it. Don't curse it. Stand still in the middle of it and say, thank you. Thank you for the clearing. Thank you for the release. Thank you for the alignment, because the path is being prepared and what's coming is far greater than what's leaving. Delay is the great deceiver. It whispers that nothing is happening, that your desire is too far off, that maybe it will never come. But the truth is, delay is not real in the way you think it is. It is not punishment. It is not denial. It is not failure. Delay is the illusion that arises when your attention slips from the end to the in-between. Time, as you know it, is not an obstacle. It is the servant of your state of consciousness. It bends and stretches according to your assumption. You do not manifest by waiting. You manifest by dwelling in the end, not visiting it occasionally when you feel inspired, not hoping for it during quiet moments, but truly living from it, even when the world offers no sign. When you dwell in the end consistently, time compresses. The bridge of events speeds up. Opportunities appear that seem distant. People shift. Doors open. Why? Because the outer world cannot resist the authority of a being who lives from fulfillment. Why? Because the outer world cannot resist the authority of a being who lives from fulfillment. Time is not the master, your state is. If you continue to feel lack, if you look around and judge the process by appearances, you remain in the state of not yet, and time stretches itself to match that belief. But when you say within yourself it is done, and you begin to live, feel, and move as if your desire is already yours, time responds with acceleration. The gap closes. This is why the most powerful shift you can ever make is internal. The world moves in response to your position in consciousness. If your desire feels distant, ask yourself, am I truly dwelling in the end, or am I still waiting, watching, and hoping? Dwelling in the end does not mean faking happiness. It means resting in the assumption that it is already done. You feel at peace because you know it's coming. You feel gratitude now because you've received it already in consciousness. That posture of faith collapses time. There is no fixed timetable for manifestation. The moment your inner state changes, the process begins. Sometimes things happen immediately. Sometimes they take what appears to be weeks or months. But no matter the outer timeline, know this. It is always responding to you. The more natural your assumption becomes, the faster the reality takes shape. The more stable your state, the more swiftly the world conforms. Do not panic when you see no evidence. Evidence is the last thing to arrive, not the first. Your inner shift happens in silence, but its echo will reach the outer world in time. The key is not to look for signs every moment, but to live as though the sign has already been received. Let your imagination carry you, let your assumption comfort you. Speak, walk, and act from the feeling that it's already true. That feeling shortens the journey. When you feel impatience creeping in, pause and remember, nothing is truly delayed. Your desire is already complete in the unseen. You are not waiting for it to be made. You are waiting only to align fully with it. And the moment you do, reality adjusts, events move, people respond, the shift becomes visible. So release the grip you have on time. Stop measuring your desire by clocks and calendars. Measure it instead by your conviction. Measure it by the depth of your belief. Stay faithful to the end you've seen, and trust. The longer you remain in the knowing, the faster time bends to meet you. Time is not in control, you are. And when you live from the fulfilled desire, time becomes irrelevant. Because from that high place in consciousness, delay dissolves, only certainty remains. You are not waiting, you are becoming. What may feel like a pause, a delay, or a season of stillness is in fact one of the most important stages of your manifestation journey. It is not empty time, it is sacred preparation. You are being molded, not punished, not ignored, but refined. Before the outer world can reflect your desire, your inner world must grow strong enough to sustain it. Every desire carries with it a version of you that is required to receive it fully. If you long for love, you must become someone who loves themselves deeply. If you long for abundance, you must become someone who thinks abundantly, who no longer entertains scarcity, who lives in alignment with prosperity. If you desire freedom, you must release the mental prisons that have kept you bound. The desire you hold is already alive, but it is calling you higher, asking you to stretch, to release, to rise into the version of yourself who can live that life without resistance or fear. This is why the visible shift often comes after the inner transformation. You are not simply asking life to give you something, you are becoming someone new in the process. That becoming is what makes the desire sustainable. Without it, the desire might arrive only to slip through your fingers, but when the identity shift is complete, you not only receive it, you hold it, carry it, and expand within it. Right now, whether you see it or not, the molding is taking place. Life is sculpting you through every challenge, every delay, every quiet moment of uncertainty. The frustration you feel is not because things are going wrong. It is because your soul is growing stronger. The discomfort you feel is not evidence of failure. It is the pressure that precedes breakthrough. Just as clay must be pressed and formed before it becomes a vessel, you are being shaped into one who can contain the reality you have already claimed within. This transformation often happens silently. No one around you may notice it. But within, your self-concept is shifting. The story you tell yourself is changing. You're beginning to see yourself through new eyes, not as one who hopes, but as one who knows. Not as one who chases, but as one who receives. This internal shift is more important than any external event, because the outer world must respond to who you are being. You are becoming more aware, more aligned, more capable of holding what you once believed was too big for you. This process is not random, it is intelligent, it is purposeful. Life is not cruel, it is precise. It knows what is required for the desire to last, and it is giving you every experience, every reflection, and every lesson necessary for you to rise into that reality. Do not despise this season. Do not rush through it. Embrace the becoming. Walk with faith, even when the path seems unclear. You are not moving backward, you are evolving. Every internal shift, every new thought pattern, every breakthrough in belief is a step closer to the version of you who lives in the manifestation you've imagined. You are being prepared to receive what you once only dreamed of. You are being transformed to carry what your heart declared was already yours. The world has not forgotten you. Life has not denied you. It is building you into the person your desire requires. So breathe, trust, allow. This is not waiting time, this is becoming time. You are not stuck, you are in the process. And when it is complete, the outer will mirror the inner. What you've been molded to hold will be placed in your hands, not by force, but by right, because you will have become the living match for what you imagine. Your life is already in motion. The shift you've been sensing, the change you've been longing for. It is not a distant hope, it is a present unfolding. What appears delayed is only being arranged. What feels disruptive is only clearing space. The outer world is quietly catching up to the decisions you've already made in consciousness. You are not simply wishing for something new. You are becoming someone new. And that becoming is the very foundation upon which your new reality is being built. Every moment you dwell in the end, every time you choose faith over fear, imagination over limitation, you accelerate the process. You are not at the mercy of time or circumstance. You are the cause. You are the spark. You are the blueprint. Hold fast to the truth you've claimed within, because the shift is not coming, it is already underway. Say to thanks, thank you for listening with your heart. Thank you for choosing to believe in the unseen. Now walk forward, not with doubt, but with the knowing that everything you've imagined is already yours. There is a quiet power moving through your life, and it is not chance, nor luck, nor some unseen magic. It is you. It is your consciousness in motion. It is the persistent embodiment of an inner state now taking shape in the outer world. People speak of miracles when something astonishing unfolds, but what they call a miracle is simply the law made visible. It is not the world doing you a favor. It is your inner world, long sustained, now reflected in form. You are not here to wish for things. You are here to create, and creation begins within. Imagination is not idle daydreaming, it is the workshop of reality. When you close your eyes and feel something to be true, you are setting manifestation into motion. Feel it clearly. Feel it now. Let your senses take you to the place where your desire is already fulfilled. Let the image play out in full color and then rest. That feeling, once assumed and persisted in, must express itself. The world is not fixed. It is flexible, fluid, and responding to your inner conversations. If you speak in doubt, you shape in delay. If you speak in certainty, you shape in speed. You do not need to beg the world to change. You do not need to chase, force, or cry out for help. All that is needed is the deep inner knowing that what you have imagined already is. You do not manifest by pushing. You manifest by persisting in the assumption that it is done. Act not toward the goal, but from it. Wake each morning and clothe yourself in the energy of the wish fulfilled. Walk as though you already own the business. Love the partner, live in the home, or spend the money, because in consciousness you do. And do not fear time. Time is not your enemy, it is your servant. It will bring into form the image you hold most consistently. Delay does not mean denial, it only means the outer world has not yet caught up with the new inner blueprint. Remember, this is not magic. This is manifestation in motion. This is the unfolding of what you dared to feel real. The world will rearrange itself for the one who refuses to waver. So choose now, assume now, feel now, and watch what once seemed impossible become inevitable. The world you see around you, every interaction, every circumstance, every perceived coincidence is not random. It is a mirror, a precise and obedient reflection of the assumptions you carry within. What you assume to be true about yourself, about others, and about life forms the lens through which you interpret reality, and more than that, it shapes the very fabric of that reality. Your experiences are not born from luck or fate, but from belief. Not casual belief, not fleeting hope, but deeply rooted inner convictions that operate silently and continuously. These assumptions, held in the stillness of your mind, become the architects of your outer world. Whether you are aware of it or not, your inner talk, those repetitive mental conversations you have with yourself, sets into motion a pattern, a structure that the outer world must follow. This is not imagination run wild, this is law. And the law is simple. You do not get what you want, you get what you are conscious of being. You get what you consistently accept as true. This is why some people, despite all effort, struggle endlessly, while others effortlessly attract what they need. The difference is not external. The difference lies in the deep-rooted assumptions they entertain about themselves. If you believe the world is harsh, unkind, and unfair, then that is precisely what will appear before you, not because the world is inherently so, but because you carry the lens of that belief. And through that lens, every moment is filtered. You will find rudeness in others, you will experience rejection, and you will continue to reaffirm the very belief that created it. But if you shift your assumption, even silently, to one of favor, worthiness, and peace, the world, like a mirror, begins to reflect something new. Understand this. Reality does not bend to your momentary desires, it bends to your sustained belief. A single hopeful thought, quickly drowned in doubt, holds no creative power, but a quiet, confident assumption, carried without effort, without anxiety, begins to take shape in the outer world. Slowly, then all at once, the world rearranges itself to match what you have accepted as true. To change your life, you do not chase the outer conditions. You shift the inner state. You revise what you accept as real. This is not delusion, it is conscious creation. You stop reacting and begin assuming. You stop looking outside for proof and begin offering proof through your inner knowing. The outer world is not here to define you. It is here to reflect you. Whatever you persist in inwardly, you will eventually witness outwardly. The mirror has no choice. It can only show what stands before it. And if you stand in the assumption of abundance, of love, of power, then so too will the mirror reflect it back. The world is your mirror. Change your reflection by changing what you believe to be true about yourself. And the world will change with it, not by magic, but by law. What you experience in the outer world is never separate from what you have accepted as true within yourself. Your environment, the people you meet, the situations you find yourself in, these are not happening to you randomly. They are arising through you as direct reflections of the assumptions you hold. The world is not acting independently of your consciousness. It is responding, echoing, and mirroring the dominant thoughts, emotions, and beliefs that you continually entertain within. You may look out and see lack, conflict, rejection, or delay, but what you're seeing is not objective reality. You're seeing a mirror. And that mirror reflects your state of consciousness, not your fleeting wishes, but your sustained assumptions. Wishing, wanting, and hoping are passive acts. They acknowledge that what you desire is separate from you, but belief, true inner assumption, accepts the desired state as already yours. It moves the idea from something distant into something present, from something you seek into something you embody. When a person walks through life assuming they are unloved or unworthy, they will continuously encounter people and circumstances that seem to validate that belief. Not because life is cruel, but because life is obedient. The mirror does not choose what to reflect. It simply reflects what is held before it. Likewise, if someone assumes they are successful, loved, valuable, and powerful, even if nothing in the outer world yet reflects it, the mirror of life must begin to change. Not immediately, not through force, but through the law of reflection. This is why transformation does not begin with changing your surroundings. It begins with changing your assumptions. You must first dare to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. You must accept, even if only internally at first, that what you desire is already real for you. The world cannot help but conform to the blueprint you provide it. That blueprint is your inner state, what you consent to as true. Every persistent thought impresses itself upon the subconscious, and the subconscious, once impressed, brings forth a manifestation. It does not argue, it does not judge. It accepts and obeys. So you must be mindful not only of what you think, but of what you accept, what you assume without effort. Because what you assume, you will live. It is not about forcing change in the external world. That approach leads only to exhaustion and confusion. Real power lies in stillness, in the quiet assumption that what you have imagined is already yours. You do not beg the mirror to smile, you smile first, and the mirror reflects it back. In the same way, you must embody the state of your desire, and the world will mirror it back in form. Reality is not responding to your outer actions nearly as much as it is responding to your inner conviction. Change the inner man, and the world must change to match him. It is not magic, it is law. It is the movement of manifestation in perfect, unwavering reflection. There is a hidden doorway between the seen and the unseen, and that doorway is feeling. It is not enough to think about what you want. Thought alone is the seed, but feeling is the water that gives it life. Feeling is the bridge that connects the imagined with the real, the invisible with the visible. When thought is fused with genuine emotion, you activate a power that quietly begins to move the pieces of reality into alignment with your inner state. Many believe they must try harder, work longer, and force life to respond, but manifestation is not born of struggle. It is born of alignment. It is not about how many times you repeat an affirmation or how precisely you visualize a goal. What matters is how deeply you feel what you are imagining. When your inner world carries the emotional tone of your desired reality, you are no longer just thinking about it, you are embodying it. And what you embody, you express. The world does not respond to empty thoughts or mechanical words. It responds to consciousness, charged with feeling. When you feel something to be real, even in the absence of evidence, you set into motion a law that cannot fail. This is not wishful thinking, it is a shift in identity. It is no longer you wanting something, it is you being someone who already has it. Imagine for a moment that what you desire is already yours. Not someday, not eventually, but now. What does that feel like? Not just what it looks like, but what it feels like to be in that reality. That feeling, if nurtured and sustained, begins to take root in your subconscious. And the subconscious, indifferent to whether something is physically real or vividly imagined, takes it as truth and moves to express it. The unseen world responds to emotion. It is your emotional reaction to what you see, think, and imagine that leaves the imprint. If you desire abundance but feel worry, you are energizing lack. If you desire love but feel unworthy, you are impressing separation. But if you feel the joy of having, the peace of being, and the gratitude of fulfillment, even in silence, then you are already drawing the invisible into form. You do not have to convince anyone. You do not have to prove your worth. You only need to go within and feel the end result with such clarity and certainty that the world has no choice but to reflect it. The world is a mirror, and feeling is the message you send to it. Stop trying so hard to force change. Begin instead to feel change. Enter the mood of your desire. Let it wash over you. Let it become natural. Let it be real within. Because the invisible always becomes visible through the doorway of emotion. And once you feel it real, reality begins its quiet, perfect rearrangement to meet you. Nothing in your life has ever happened by chance. Though it may appear as luck, coincidence, or random unfolding, the truth is far more deliberate. There is no luck, only law. The laws of consciousness operate with exactness like the turning of celestial bodies or the rising of the sun. They do not bend to chaos, nor do they play favorites. They respond only to one thing: what you accept as true within yourself. Every experience you call forth begins as a belief, not necessarily the beliefs you voice aloud or write down, but the silent agreements you make deep within. These inner agreements form the blueprint of your reality. They shape your expectations, color your emotions, and influence your reactions. Once accepted by the subconscious, they must express themselves in the outer world, not because of magic, but because of law. When something unexpected happens, you may say, "What luck?" But luck implies that there is no order, no principle guiding the unfolding of your life. And that is not so. The law works through the assumptions you hold, through the moods you dwell in, and through the images you rehearse internally. The person who expects good is met with good. The one who lives in quiet fear is often met with reasons to justify it. It is not punishment. It is not reward. It is reflection. The world does not respond to what you want. It responds to what you are. And what you are is determined by what you believe to be true. If you consent to the idea that you are worthy, that you are chosen, that life is for you, then the law begins its work in silence, drawing into your path every circumstance, person, and opportunity that affirms that belief. It is easy to dismiss the law when you do not yet see results. But the law is not slow, it is precise. It responds to sustained states, not passing emotions. A moment of confidence cannot outweigh days of doubt, but when you persist, in the assumption of your desire already fulfilled, without panic, without strain, the law begins to move. And though you may not see the mechanisms behind the scenes, things are shifting. Always. Coincidence is merely a name we give to patterns we did not consciously trace. But the pattern was still created by you. You imagined, you believed, you assumed, and life mirrored it. The sooner you recognize this, the more empowered you become. You are not here to hope for good fortune. You are here to live by inner conviction, knowing that your world is molded not by accident, but by attention. You do not need luck, you need alignment. You do not need chance, you need clarity. Consent only to that which uplifts, empowers, and reflects your highest vision. Let go of the need for proof and stand firm in your assumption. For what you truly accept, without doubt, without wavering, must become your experience, not by luck, but by law. The secret to conscious creation lies not in effort or waiting, but in assumption. You do not move toward your desire, you move from it. That is, you live and think and feel as though your dream is already realized. This may seem strange at first because the world has conditioned you to believe in the evidence of your senses. You've been taught to work hard, to wait patiently, and to hope that someday life will reward your effort. But manifestation doesn't work through delay. It works through identity. And identity is not built by striving. It is claimed by being. When you live from the end, you take on the state of the wish fulfilled now. You don't just visualize the outcome, you occupy it in consciousness. You feel what it would feel like if your desire were already true. That feeling becomes your dwelling place, your inner home. You visit it so often with such natural ease that you forget it isn't visible yet. And soon it becomes visible, because reality has no choice but to reflect the state you live in most consistently. If you are constantly longing for your dream, you are affirming that it is not yet yours. Longing is the vibration of absence, but assumption is the vibration of presence. And the law of life responds to presence. What you assume to be true, without resistance, is accepted by the subconscious as fact. To live from the end is not to pretend. It is to shift your awareness. You no longer ask when it will happen. You begin to know it already has. You walk differently. You speak differently. You feel differently, not out of delusion, but out of alignment. Because when you take on the feeling of the fulfilled desire, you are no longer separate from it. You are one with it. And manifestation is nothing more than the outer confirmation of that inner union. This is why you do not beg, plead, or chase. You assume. You assume the position of the one who already has it. You think the thoughts that version of you would think. You carry the peace that version of you would feel. You radiate the confidence of someone who knows the outcome is certain, even if it's invisible to others. You also do not hope blindly. You embody deliberately. Hope keeps your desire in the future. Embodiment brings it into the now. And now is where all creation begins. So when doubts come, and they will, you do not fight them. You simply return to the end. You remember the feeling. You occupy it again and again until it becomes your natural state. Living from the end is the fastest path to fulfillment because it bypasses the illusion of waiting. You are no longer waiting to become, you are. And once you become inwardly, the world has no choice but to respond. Not later, but inevitably. Change does not come by force. It does not yield to impatience, nor does it respond to frantic effort. Real transformation, lasting and profound, arises through quiet persistence. The world you see around you is not resisting you, it is reflecting you, and that reflection is based not on what you try to force for a moment, but what you consistently believe over time. Persistence is the quiet power that reshapes the world without noise, without struggle, and without visible strain. When you begin to assume a new state of being, when you dare to believe something higher about yourself, you will not always see immediate confirmation in the outer world, and that is where most give up. They try once, visualize once, feel it once, and then return to their old beliefs because nothing seemed to happen. But manifestation is not about instant gratification. It is about sustained belief. The inner state you choose must be occupied consistently, not conditionally. Persistence means staying loyal to your desired state even when the outer world shows you the opposite. You do not react to appearances. You remain faithful to your inner knowing. You continue to think, feel, and live from the assumption that it is already done. The outer world, though it may seem slow to respond, is not ignoring you. It is reconfiguring, rearranging, aligning itself with the new pattern you are impressing through your persistence. Think of it like planting a seed. You do not dig it up after 2 days and ask why it hasn't grown. You water it, you protect it, and you trust the process. Your assumption is that growth is happening, even if unseen. The same is true for the desires you hold. The moment you plant the idea, the moment you feel it real, the process has begun. But to see it bloom, you must persist. You must continue in that feeling long enough for the outer world to yield. Force is rooted in doubt. It says, if I push hard enough, maybe it will happen. But persistence is rooted in faith. It says, because I know it is done, I remain calm and consistent. Force exhausts, persistence empowers. Force chases, persistence attracts. This is not about trying harder. It is about holding the vision longer. It is about choosing every moment to return to the state of the wish fulfilled. When old patterns resurface, when fear whispers, when doubt creeps in, you do not fight it. You gently return. You reaffirm your truth. And over time, this unwavering inner loyalty causes the old reality to dissolve. The old world must yield. It has no power of its own. It only reflects. So remain steadfast. Know that your inner work is never wasted. Even if the world around you appears unchanged, the structure of reality is quietly being rewritten. Be patient. Be faithful. Be still in your knowing, because persistence, not force, is the key that unlocks the invisible and brings it forth into form. True manifestation is not magic. It is the natural unfolding of sustained inner conviction. What you assume to be true, feel deeply, and persist in believing will, without fail, become your reality. The world is not separate from you, it reflects you. Your thoughts, your emotions, your assumptions are the blueprint, and life is the mirror. You don't need to chase, force, or wait for luck. You simply need to live from the end, feel your desires as already real, and persist. Calmly, faithfully, silently. The invisible becomes visible when you align with the truth that it already is. And once you truly know that within, the outer world must follow. Sincere thanks to the listener. Thank you for taking the time to listen deeply. May these words awaken your power, realign your faith, and remind you of who you truly are. The world is waiting to reflect the greatness already within you. Keep imagining, keep feeling, and above all, keep persisting.